Gemini, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. My name is Michelle. Welcome. In this reading, what we're going to do is review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun. We're going to start out with the really big things that are going to impact everybody. And then we're going to whittle that down and focus it down a little bit into the things that all Gemini should be focused on. And then Geminis, what we'll do is we'll break it down into the decans, which is a group of 10 degrees. And every zodiac sign has 3 of them. Because there's a total of 30 degrees in every zodiac sign. We break this down in astrology to 10 degree increments because it's within the 10 degrees that really forms the aspect. And if it's over 10 degrees or way under, it's either a different aspect or it's not really going to impact you at all. So it really does depend on that little 10 degree difference. And you'll notice that those of you that have your natal sun at the beginning of Gemini season are very different, experiencing the season very differently than those of you at the very end and in the middle too. I mean, it's very different. So knowing where your natal sun is located is going to help you out a lot, but you don't have to. For this video, all you really need to know is your birth date, because what I'll do is I will translate those degree increments or those decans into associated birth dates, but they're estimates. If you want to get your actual natal sun position, then go generate a free natal chart. It's easy, it's quick, it's free. All you need is your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location. So let's jump in, Gemini, to the big stuff. There's going to be something that you're actually directly involved in. There's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius between the 3rd and 4th, depending on where on the globe you are. It's 11:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in New York. So the United States will definitely, Central South America will definitely experience it on the 3rd, late night. But over in Europe and then into India, Asia, you guys are going to be experiencing it on the 4th. Same planet, actual same time, but not the same time. Anyway. This full moon in Sagittarius begs us to expand and grow and liberate ourselves from the worries and the fears that have kept us in our safety zones. It is trying to Chiron, and that means there's healing involved. And there's a lot of, this is a place for us to put our pain, or it's basically our pain that's driven us to the point of, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to do the same old things. I've got to get outside of these confines. So it's time for us to release our fears and actually step into new and fresh things and more exciting things. It's time for us to, excite up our life again. Now, why does this concern Gemini? Because every full moon is created between the moon and the sun is in Gemini. So that's why the moon is full, is because it's in direct opposition to the sun in Gemini. So we're going to discuss more about where the sun is in Gemini and who exactly that's going to impact the most in a little bit. But before then, there's a few other bigger things that I have to talk about. Yes, I'm reading off my notes, guys, just so you know. That's why I'm always looking down. This is for the week of June 1st to June 7th, 2023. We have Venus this week on the 5th, transiting from Cancer into Leo. Now, she's actually a lot happier in Cancer, to be honest with you. In Leo, she's kind of excitable. She's very much a diva. She's very faithful. She's very loyal. And she's very into look at my beauty, see my beauty. If a Venus in Leo needs attention, and she gives attention. She gives attention and affection, but when it's not returned in the equal or greater degree, it feels like a loss. So this is a time to sort of check and see, are you feeling loved? It'll be very obvious right now once Venus enters Leo. It'll be really obvious if you feel that if you feel you are or you're not feeling loved. And it could just, Venus in Leo is easy to empty. right? She's also a little bit of a spendthrift because she just likes to sort of be big about everything. So that's not necessarily a beware. What's more beware is that when Venus enters Leo, she becomes in opposition to Pluto. And that's really the beware point because she impacts our day-to-day so much, especially because she does also control finances. There's a huge financial, I think, collapse or debacle that's coming, or just major transformation of we've got to change our shit around, because for the next week and a half, Venus is going to be in opposition to Pluto. And he's going to tear that shit up. There's no other way to tell it to you. So that is definitely something to be aware of, especially since while she's opposite to Pluto, she is going to be square to Jupiter, which over-exaggerates and overemphasizes and blows up everything to the max. And with already everything like falling to pieces or transitioning, it's going to be even more dramatic. So the next week and a half, I think we should actually feel a little bit of pain, to be honest with you. Then we also have Jupiter still square to Pluto as well, which exaggerates everything. It's been that way for the past almost 2 weeks, and it's everything has been a little bit more bigger, larger than life, and a little bit more dramatic. So it adds that flair to everything. Kind of relentless. We're rolling to inevitability, and it's almost like accelerated. So I do predict that there's going to be some sort of a crash coming up. I'm just not sure what it is. We also have the odd but wonderful conjunction of Mercury and Uranus. This happens, I think, on the 4th of this week, but they're really in conjunction all week, but perfect conjunction at 20 degrees Taurus on the 4th of June. And what this is some... I think it's this huge discovery, this dissemination of major tech, or less realization something's coming out, information is being disseminated. This is really quite a brilliant time, but I think it's brilliance in the way of expose as well. There does seem to be major shit changing. Anyway, that's for another video. Let's get back to Gemini specifically. You should always be focused on where Mercury is, because Mercury is a fast mover, and Mercury is absolutely back to its full speed. It moves about 8 degrees a week through whatever sign it's in. It's still in Taurus. So this week it moves between 16 and 24 degrees Taurus. It is conjunct Uranus all week, but it's in perfect conjunction on the 4th. And during this time, it's trying to Pluto. By the 6th, and by the 7th, it's also going to be sextile to Neptune. So it is definitely working in favor of Pluto, so in favor of change, harmonizing change, major dissemination of information that will change things, maybe permanently shut things down. Intense conversations can be had during this time or around this time, intense game-changing conversations. And then we have Neptune, sextile to Neptune, all in the service of the divine. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. It will definitely be distributed maybe in a creative way, or in a way that people will want to hear it. Maybe some interesting, I don't know. To be honest with you, all I want you guys to know is Mercury is highly activated this week. There's a lot going on. And if you feel it, it's because it's there. It's real. Mercury sextile to Neptune is very creative energy. It's very musical energy. It's very, Mercury sextile to Neptune by the 7th. But honestly, what did I want to say about this? Mercury conjunct Uranus can also be very rebellious energy, a call to arms. And a sextile to Neptune makes me think, it's almost like of Thomas Paine or Hamilton's letters, it's just a sense of rallying, this sort of rally protest call of imagine the world in a different way that sort of reached out to the public. It kind of feels like that is all I'm saying. But anyway, this is definitely a sense of you guys are kind of the front row seat of it. Let's talk decans. So if you guys are born, if your natal sun, let's go back. If your natal sun Gemini is between 0 and 9 degrees Gemini, you are a Gemini 1. This is usually Geminis whose birthdays are in May. So between May 22nd and say the 30th. Maybe 30th, 31st. of May. So May Gemini's definitely Taurus cusps. You are Gemini ones. So the sun is actually moving in Gemini between 11 degrees and 16 degrees. This would make it in the second decan of Gemini, and we'll get to that in a bit. But whenever the sun is in a sign, when it is your season, it does tend to impact you, affect you, and bring you more to life, or bring your life more to light, intensify things in a way for you. Good or bad, we don't really know, but hold on. So Gemini ones, your natal sun is in a long-term square to Saturn, which is definitely opposition to the norm, the status quo, problems with contracts, old things you committed yourself to, the past coming back to haunt you, all of these challenges for the next year. You're also in a long-term trine to Pluto, which means you're going to be inspired to incite change, probably because of the ball busting you're getting from Saturn. And then this week, we have a sextile to Venus by the 2nd of this week and a sextile to Mars all week long. What does that mean? It means energy. It means motivation. It means I want to get shit done and I want people to know about it. Sextile to Venus is people are going to be watching. People are going to be loving you. There's a grace and a natural charisma to you. And there's also a natural energy and vitality because of that sextile to Mars. This does also speak to divine masculine, divine feminine energy, which means feeling complete about yourself, and also a sense of being able to actually make waves, especially when it comes to socializing, flirting, getting your way when it comes to relationships, feeling more vitality in your relationships, especially more sexual energy and intensity in your relationships. This could be a great week for romance, absolutely. Then we have Gemini 2s. So Gemini 2s, you have the sun conjunct your natal suns, which is very intensification, like energy galore, right? It's also a sense of egotism, a sense of self, a sense of grandiosity about the self, or it coming to light exactly who you are. Really understanding who you are a lot better. Now, you're going to be in direct opposition to this full moon. So what does that mean? Intense. It's just going to be more intense for you. It's going to be more emotional for you. It's going to be more explosive for you. Definitely expect some major emotional impact that could absolutely change the way that you experience things and the way that you see things, finally liberating you and allowing you to break free from things that have held you back. You also have a sextile to Chiron that's long term. That sextile to Chiron is creating motivation for you to heal, get better, fix things, and improve the world based on the shit you've been through. And that's it. So major breakthrough week, major get unstuck week, major emotional explosion kind of week, especially between the 3rd and 4th, FYI, because of that full moon. And then we have Gemini 3s. So Gemini 3s, your natal suns are between 20 and 29 degrees. Basically, you are definitely Cancer cusps. You are pretty much between the 11th and the 21st of June. That's in and around where your birthdays are. You have a long-term square to Neptune, which could make you kind of brain foggy and easily taken advantage of. So just an FYI for the next couple of years, getting lost in fantasy would be a little bit easier for you. It can also be very creative energy. If you use it creatively and tap into a creative outlet, this will actually become productive energy. You also have a long-term quincunx to Pluto, which is difficult change. It's bumpy, rocky change. It's frustrating. It's almost like frustration is going to push you into change. Not really having much choice because you're frustrated to death and you're going to need to change, or the frustration won't leave you alone. You have a long-term. You also have a long-term trine to the south node and sextile to the north node. So this is definitely a sense of opportunities in the future opening up. It's almost like the universe has conspired to push you forward whether or not you want to. And the more faith that you can find and the more you can just allow yourself to ride the wave, though it will be difficult for you because you'll be resistant, because it feels forced, It is forced, but it's because this is the direction you're supposed to be going. And the farther off track you were, the more difficult it's going to be and the more painful it's going to feel. But that's why. It's because you really weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing. And I don't know what that means in your life. Your life could seem perfectly normal and wonderful, but there's another drive that's pushing you into a different direction. And you'll feel that all the time. And the path of least resistance is don't resist. You know, trust it and what it's trying to tell you, because the more carefully you listen, and Geminis are really good listeners, the more carefully you listen, the more you'll start to trust the direction it's pushing you in. So you let me know in the comments below how you're experiencing this week. I think it's an intense one for you guys. You just can't ignore it or get around it, but definitely share your comments below. Please remember to subscribe over here to Astrology Motivation and like this video, and come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot, where you have your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week.